What's going on, boxing fans? DA back again with another boxing video. Alright, I just got done watching the Rios versus Alvarado fight. Okay, when they said that this fight, I believe it was Max Kellerman that said that this fight has Fight of the Year written all over it. I was inclined to believe him because I said the same exact thing a couple seconds before he did. And boy, was he right. In every sense of the word. I mean, holy crap. The fight ended in the 7th round. Brandon Rios landed a crazy amount of shots. The volume was just unheard of. And the referee had to stop the fight. It was ridiculous. I mean, going from round 1 through until the stoppage in round 7, I gave Rios the first round, the second round. I gave Alvarado rounds 3 through 5. And I gave Rios the 6th round, and obviously the 7th round goes to Rios because he won by TKO. Rios, the thing that really, it wasn't so much of funny, but it was just kind of like seeing how these little guys can really put on so much weight, and really come out swinging for the fences and put on a spectacular show. But yet you have a lot of guys who are in those actual weight classes who put on more weight, or not so much putting on these spectacular showings of brutality and fisticuffs. Rios is 5'8". He weighed in at 140 pounds. On fight night, the scales showed him being 149 pounds. Alvarado is 5'9". He weighed in at 139 pounds, 139.8 pounds, and he came in at 152. All right. Now, the discrepancy between Rios and Alvarado post-weigh-in isn't too bad at all. A couple pounds. A lot of things in this fight that I want to point out too is that Rios has said that he trained. Before he made it his way up to 140, he used to train to make the weight, and he wasn't necessarily studying his opponents. He claims that 140 pounds is a very comfortable weight for him, and he plans to stay there. I was waiting for this for a while. I was looking for Brandon Rios to one day move on up because I figured at some point in your career, the older you get, you're going to put on more weight. And that's exactly what Rios did. He came in at 149 pounds, 9 pounds over the 140-pound weight limit. And that's not bad at all. I mean, it's better than coming from, 135 and jumping to 149. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, maybe Rios, you should move on up so at least the weight cutting won't be as bad. Both men came in undefeated. Alvarado, and now has a blemish on his record. A lot of things that I noticed about Alvarado coming in, that Alvarado he was brilliant when it came to his angles. He was using angles, but he was brawling at the same time. He was showing Rios that, listen, I can fight you on the outside if I want to, and I can come into the pocket and hit you just as hard. But my only thing is, it seemed that like Alvarado had a little trouble fighting Rios in the pocket because it didn't seem so much that's where he wanted to be. But when he was on the outside, he was free to do everything. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Alvarado's arms are a little longer than Rios, so you kind of see it with the uppercuts that Rios was more comfortable throwing the body shots and throwing the uppercuts. Even when he turned his body a little bit, he had quite a bit of room to move on to the next shot. Whereas Alvarado, it seemed like he had to throw an uppercut coming in to the pocket. Whereas Rios, as I said, he was just throwing shots just willy nilly up in the inside. Even during the first round, the way Rios was landing shots on Alvarado, I really thought that as the fight went on, that the high volume of pressure and the high volume of shots that Rios was going to put on Alvarado, that he wouldn't last very long at all, because you can see it in his face. There's a lot of swelling under the right eye. He had some swelling around like the top portion. I think it was his left eyebrow. Even Rios had some damage going on a little bit. He had a very, very shallow mouse going up underneath the right eye as well. The second round, both men, I think this probably really set the pace for the fight, was the second round, because both men threw huge shots. I give Rios the more so of the what's the word I'm trying to say? I gave him more credit in the second round, basically, where he landed most of the damage. Alvarado did did well, but I just don't think he did as much as Rios did as far as putting the hands on him, laying the leather, throwing the big shots, and making them count to the where the crowd was like, ooh, oh, there was like a high and low with the how people really felt when Rios was landing big shots. Rios, excuse me, as I said about Alvarado, he was really successful with damage from the outside. He was successful with the pot shots, and I honestly think Alvarado should have stayed on the outside and maintained a constant volume of pot shotting, because it seemed that when every time Alvarado would throw a right hand or connect with like a combination, a 3-punch combination, or even a 4-punch set, Rios would always go into his guard. He found it real, and the only way he can get back up to the middle was one of two ways. Either Alvarado came towards Rios and took shots from him, or Rios willingly took shots from Alvarado in order to get him back into the pocket. Both were very, very risky, but it seems that in the end it worked out for Rios. Oh, because my overall analysis of Alvarado coming to this fight is that he really needed to keep Rios at the end of his punches. I mentioned how Alvarado showed Rios angles. He should have maintained that game plan, showing him the angles, showing him different combinations, different sets, confusing him to where Brandon Rios had no other way but to stand and fight. I mentioned that Rios had one or two ways of coming in, taking shots, or Alvarado was giving shots but coming in willingly, thinking that, oh, I have Rios where I want him, that means I can fight him inside comfortably. Well, he was seriously incorrect about that. Rios' style to me is severely outdated. However, if you can take shots the way Rios can without being crushed or insanely stunned to where it's like, oh, I can't go on the way he did Alvarado in the 7th round, then go for it. Do whatever it takes to win fights. But there's going to be that one guy that's going to have power, he's going to have speed, he's going to be able to fight on the outside, and he's really going to give Rios trouble. I can't think of anyone on the top of my head that actually has that at 140 pounds. Maybe Devin Alexander has it. Perhaps Marquez, maybe, even though I think Marquez may be a little bit up in age, a little bit too many miles on the speedometer. I like to see Adrian Broner versus Brandon Rios be a good fight. You got guys like Mercedo Gesta, who's I believe is at 140 pounds, would be a pretty decent fight for Rios. You got a lot of guys. Even maybe Yuriorkis Gamboa. Yuriorkis Gamboa. In the 5th round, going back to the fight in the 5th round, Alvarado did a sweet 3-punch combination on Brandon Rios. It shook his face from like one side to the next, no other side back to the. It was ridiculous. It was crazy. I actually stood up and I was like, holy shit. It was something that you would see in like a boxing movie or something like that. It's like it looks like it was the punches seemed scripted, but obviously they weren't. I did like when Rios, when he was in the pocket, he put his head down and he started to get to work. He started laying them shots on Alvarado's midsection, really started to wear him down towards the end of the fight. It was like Roy Jones said, it was a doghouse fight. It was two dogs on the playground, showing up, fighting for their territory. It was like it seemed that Rios and Alvarado at one point they just threw out the training and they just put it all out of the window. Everything just went out the window and they just punched till someone fell. It was a great fight from beginning to end. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the Toshiaki Nishioka and Nonito Donaire fight. I'll do a review in the next video coming up. As I always say, like, dislike, comment, whatever you got to say. I'll be back later with another video, as I mentioned. Until then, I'm out of here. Peace.